We are privileged to be having a conversation today with Buks Nel Henk Griessel, who need no introduction in the South African fresh produce sector. They are enthusiasts and authors that write about the South African apple and pear industry. And they're also very knowledgeable, and they know their varieties, and their knowledge and passion have taken them down some very interesting roads. So thank you so much for joining us, and it will be great if you could give us some background of where you started the journey. And
I've been nagging them for a while, and I apologize for that. I think it was we first spoke after you were looking for interesting pear stories. And we saw it on the Woodcrow page.
The oldest pear. That's where. I think we were looking for the second oldest pear, because the oldest pear we all know where that is. That's in the company's garden.
Okay.
Yes.
And so we thought that the second oldest pear, or there could be older pears.
Of course.
From the very first people that planted the first Vryburgers that lived close to the Leesbeek. And so we were looking in how do you get into people's gardens? Because you don't know. And that was where, it was basically, we like to keep apples and pears in the news. That is the reason. So we make stories.
Well, you've been very successful at that, I must say.
Stories.
And the adventures that you guys have taken has been really interesting.
Did you see our book on pears?
No.
Well, that.
Do you have it here?
No, I don't have it here.
Okay.
I
I've
brought
read
these
about
two.
it, and I'd love to see
Well, that was
it.
the article that you
Yes.
Yeah, but it's good to page through. Not one of those.
These are your first two. That was the third one.
Yeah,
That's the
correct.
third one.
Which is
And
stories.
It's stories, really.
Yes.
It's called Pears, People, Pears, and the Stories They Share.
Lovely.
And it's just a fun for us to have done that.
But what sparked this
Yes,
interest around the pears and the apples and the
Start
stories?
further back.
We actually spoke about it now on the way up. It's quite simple. Why we're interested in new varieties? It started to just improve grower returns, nothing else. So this is a valley, and there's a lot of competition, and by bin payment and payment per ton is that drives everything.
Of course.
So if you have the best color, best variety, best pack out, your payment's going to be the highest. And that started, I think, between Buks and Rain Dalton long time ago, where they improved the Gala variety. The one that they had planted, everybody planted normal Gala, they planted a selection. So as soon as you plant a selection, which is ready, your pack out's going to be higher, therefore your payment's going to be higher. So that was the start. We started when True Cape started, because Rain was still then at 2 a day, and Marion was at 2 a day, Marion Williams. And you want to have the best product in the box. And you have the best product if you have the best varieties.
Yes, for sure.
That's how it started.
So
2001.
the quest for improved varieties.
That was basically is to have the best product and the best, eventually the best payment per bin.
Yes.
But something must have sparked that. What were you doing at that point for True Cape?
Buks was just retired at 2 a day, and I just started at the True Cape. So
Tell us a bit.
No, I was a technical advisor at 2 a day.
Okay.
And in those days you had to retire at 60. And then somebody came to me, he mentioned the name Rain Dalton. And Rain said, come on, you're interested in new varieties. Come on, let's create a job for you.
Okay. And when was that?
That was in 2000, about
2001.
2001.
2001.
So 20 years ago.
Yeah,
22 years.
and yeah,
22
22 years ago, and I've been with Henk on a new variety since then. And really, if I look back at what I've achieved more in the last 20 years than I've achieved in my whole lifetime.
That's incredible. And just shows you when people tell you at 60 to go and retire, you've got so much more living that you can do and so much more adventure you can do.
No, you sit in the old age home and you wait for your lunch, and then you wait for your evening meal, and you sit, and then you wait for the undertaker, and so,
look what you've done since then.
yeah, we've well, the books are by the way.
Yes, I know.
We've selected good varieties,
That's fun.
and it was fun. And how do
Fun
you?
and productive.
Yeah,
No, I mean, it was all fun.
we
I mean,
we
it's fun.
no, and we're not plant breeders. There's two or three things that are now like Big Buks, for example.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
Which is it's just a mutation of normal Gala. And how do you get that? You don't breed it. You look for it.
You find
it.
Yes.
And you have to keep your eyes open and you have to walk. You can't sit in your bucky and find it, or behind a computer. So and that's how we found Henk. We found Big Buks that way.
Buks is the walker, and he found a lot.
And we found Fuji Royal, and a red mutation of Fuji, which is the main one planted now.
Wow.
Big Buks is more or less the main.
Yeah, there's 2.5 million trees planted.
2.5 million trees planted since I found it here at Oak Valley,
2.5 million.
and that was on the 18th of January 2018. No,
No. For that.
it was about 20 years ago.
Yes, less.
Oh, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, 10 years ago.
So the industry
Yeah.
should be very grateful you didn't retire.
No, I am not particularly interested in how they feel. But and you walk an orchard
Yeah.
of galas, for example, and you what are you looking for? You're looking for something that's different in that orchard. And we found, and all of a sudden you see, here's a gala that's redder than the rest, for what it's worth. Because people say that red is more desirable than non-red. So,
But it means being there at the right place at the right time.
yeah.
In walking,
And
in the
walking.
sun. And,
Yeah.
yeah, when did you say? Somewhere in January when it's really
Yeah, it was
hot?
18th of January 2011. That was
Okay.
that was the date. And now what do you do then? Now you've got that tree. What do? You you say, it might be a good thing. This. What you do is you take some buds from that, or budwood or graftwood, and you put it on 3 or 4 other trees, but you see whether it's true to type, because it might just be a freak. It might be a
Got a little bit more cold, a little bit more this, little
or it's got got a ring bar with a wire or something.
Yeah.
And Henk and I found that it was true to type. After a year or two, we saw it's the same thing. So
Also got to be patient, because you'd imagine you're excited, and now
Yeah.
you've got to do this.
You have to
now
wait.
You've got to wait.
you have to wait. This is the problem. You can't sort of switch it on.
Yes.
So
And
anyway,
sorry, how old was this tree when you found it? So that's probably
it was already about 10 years old.
so it's just been there.
Yeah, but it's not a, it's a mutation on, it was a branch mutation, not a,
Just one branch.
Just one branch.
yeah,
Oh.
one, it
Yeah.
starts with a bud.
Yeah, we can go and show it to you. It's still there, and at Oak Valley they will never pull it out. They'll make a fence around it
Okay.
because it's, you know, as you say, from that one tree, there's about, did you say 2.5 million, Henk?
2.45 million, and we have a meeting tomorrow, a
Yeah.
Big Buks meeting, and it's 2.45
And
million.
and what's the next step? Your next step, you know, I'm an old age pensioner, and how can I make money out of this?
Of course, one has to think that way.
And I said to Anthony Roban and to Derek Corder, two of my pals, I said we must do PBR, what we call plant breeders' rights.
Yeah.
And in other words, if you get plant breeders' rights, it means that you and what do they do in plant breeders' rights? They see whether it's different, and that takes a good 2-3 years. And after that, we did it with the Department of Agriculture, and they found out that it was
different.
It was different.
Significantly different.
Okay.
It must be significantly different.
Yes, I would imagine. Otherwise,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's either
It's a slight-
botanical or it must have some.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the chap doing it at Stellenbosch is, I mean, he knows varieties inside out.
okay.
And you can't say, but, oh, Henny, are you blind, man? Can't you see that the thing is different? I mean,
It's got to be the real thing. Yeah.
so we found it was different and started to make trees or plant it. And we can show it to you now. It's totally different. And but it takes time.
For sure.
Oh,
can
I
imagine.
mean, this Henk, our Big Buks took a long time to settle, and
But it's still much quicker than, I mean, it is.
it's much quicker than
Anything
breeding.
anything
Okay.
anybody has ever done in apples. If
Yeah.
you think Buks founded 2011, I think the oldest commercial orchard's now seventh leaf, I think.
Yeah.
Seventh leaf. Which means it's super fast from something which is,
The first commercial orchard was planted in 2017.
no, it's a seventh leaf.
Seventh leaf. Sorry, I
Seventh
couldn't
leaf,
hear
yeah.
what you
Yeah,
said.
seventh
Seventh
leaf.
leaf.
Yeah.
7 years old.
So
Okay.
it is.
That's pretty quick,
That was
actually.
quick. That was quick, and
That is quick.
and to go from one bud to 2.5 million trees
Wow.
in such a short period of time.
So
It's
is it
incredibly fast.
for the people that don't know? Is it safe to say that 2.5 million trees are all cloned from the same?
Same.
From
same.
the
So it's
Same.
physiologically exactly the same
Exactly
plant.
the same.
It's all basically cuttings.
And in that 2.5 million trees, is there a possibility of another mutation?
No, for
possibly?
sure. There's always mutation.
There's also reversions. In other words,
Yes.
it goes back to the original one.
Ja, hulle sê terugslaan.
Terugslaan.
Okay.
That's what terugslaan. But
And has that happened, or have you seen it?
with Big Buks, no.
But a lot of varieties we see it. If
Yeah.
it's anemic, we'll say it's not stable.
We say it's unstable.
Yeah, I think the first one we saw was early Boncricia, which is also it was also a branch mutation here, and it's very unstable. And same with Panorama Golden. It's also been in the industry for how long now? But it's like more 40 years,
Yeah.
34 years. It's also unstable, but so it reverts. So if it's an early, so you have true to type and non-true to type, so it becomes
Okay.
very difficult. Big Buks are lucky; it's very stable.
Yeah, it's people might disagree, but I think in general we agree that the moment you get a solid red apple, that compared with one with a little bit of stripes, that the solid one is far more stable.
Okay, interesting.
And I mean, it's quite logical in that the one with stripes shows that he doesn't know whether it's Arthur or Martha.
Yes.
And so because you get a red stripe and a yellow, and it's very attractive.
Yes.
But you book yourself in for instability, and therefore you have to select Henk very carefully if you want to select on a striped variety.
Okay.
But this is not new. This has been going on for
Yeah.
from. I mean, in most varieties, they are an improved variety, an improved selection.
So if you think back, you said it was 2011, January 2011. We're now 2023. That is only 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And there are 2.2.
4 or 5 million trees in the ground.
It's like if somebody told you 11 years ago that we'd be sitting here saying that, you would never have believed it.
Wouldn't have believed it.
And I don't know the figures in the apple industry, so help me. What percentage of the South African apple crop or of that particular type of apple does that? Can you give us something that gives perspective on that?
I don't know
Henk.
how much. I don't know how many galas there in the ground.
But but as a percentage, yeah.
Just give us like something.
I would just guess
Ballpark.
around about 10% of galas.
So Big Buks represent around
Could be
10%.
higher, yeah.
10 or more.
Yeah, it could be
Percent
higher,
of-
yeah. Of all.
That's pretty flippin' amazing.
Yeah, seeing that the gala is almost our biggest variety now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's our,
it's
our biggest
it's
variety.
significant.
Wow.
And for me, interesting is that because we sell Big Buks, and it's become a international
Name. Yeah.
now.
yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
You know, like the Indians ask for big bucks, and but maybe you can elaborate on the trademark.
Yes, where the name comes from and
Oh, yeah,
how
but
you
No,
got to all
big
of that.
bucks is
Yes.
we talking. That's a variety name.
Okay.
Trademark is something different.
Yes. Okay.
Henk?
The Big Buks name, Kala from Ceres gave the name. Even Buks, they went overseas a lot.
Okay.
And that's where the Big Buks come from, because Kala said this is going to be Big Buks, and that's where the name is going from.
I think it's lovely.
It's got a bit of your name in it,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you're going to make big bucks with this thing.
Well, let's put it this way: it's not subtle. When you hear that, you know exactly where we're coming from and going to with that.
Yeah, it is.
But Henk, talk about the trademark.
Yeah, so
Yes.
between the three of them, because it's Buks, Anthony, and Derek. They have a company which is called Pink Vein and
Pink vein.
Vein. Yeah, the vein
Not
of
red
the
vein.
of the leaf
Yes.
turns red.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
it's a botanical difference, and that's why Big Buks have basically been granted plant breeders' rights, because it's botanically different.
Okay.
Okay.
And Anthony came up with the idea of registering a trademark. So after many deliberations, a trademark was registered because you have to be not offensive, and it has to be acceptable, and and it can't infringe anybody
Yes,
else's
it's
right.
very,
All
it's
those
huge. You've got to be very careful and consider so many things.
Very
technical.
complicated.
But eventually they have a trademark, and so I think it's the only gala where an active trademark is sort of what got a box. It works on exactly the same principles as the Pink Lady.
Okay.
So
It's called Pink Vein.
No, the trademark is Flash
Company's-
Gala. Flash Gala.
Flash Gala.
I've seen that,
Okay.
yes.
Flash Gala. Okay.
So
I've seen that,
it's got a motive, it's got a carton,
Okay.
it's got a so the company the trademark is then managed by SAPU,
Okay. Yes.
and so if you pack like Pink Lady, if you pack under the trademark, you have to pay a levy,
Yeah.
set amount percentage per carton. That levy is then spent for promotion and advancement of the variety.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, and because it's not a closed variety, it's an open variety. Anybody can plant it.
Okay.
So same like Pink Lady. So they decided that it should run the same. It should be
Okay.
open. It should not be closed, and it should be anyone can plant it. So it is for the industry. It's not just kept for certain people.
So the uptake in South Africa, you've said what
Yeah.
it is, but what sort of international uptake has it had for plant, not for marketing, but for growing, for cultivation?
Buks, you can help them because that's their domain. It's because it's the same. It has to go through plant breeders'
Yeah,
rights
yeah,
and all
yeah.
of that.
Everything. And it's in Europe, as in it's very difficult to get plant breeders' rights. In fact, I don't think there is a gala that's
With
got
plant
that-
breeders'
that's
rights.
got plant breeders' rights, because it's a in Europe it's a very political thing.
Can you imagine?
But we're not worried about that, and there's not a lot of it planted in Europe because there's so many other galas. But maybe Henk, you can elaborate on what we're trying to do in the East, in India and so on.
Yeah, I mean if you have the variety and they plant the variety, so it runs on some, as I said, similar principles as Pink Lady. Eventually, Pink Lady became international variety.
Yes.
And it's managed internationally.
Yes.
At the moment, Flash Gala is managed locally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not managed internationally. That is the next step because as soon as you do it internationally,
it's only 12 years old
yeah, but it's
from the beginning. So
And as soon
obviously
as
it
you-
takes time.
international trademark laws and patent
Yeah, yeah.
rights, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it takes a huge step up to, and remember, it's still a gala. It's not like Pink Lady, which is a new apple.
Differently.
They might find a different mutation in India or China.
Or something similar, and then they call, and then well, how can you discern the difference? On a Pink Lady, can only be one Pink Lady
Yes.
because there's nothing that's a cross, and a mutation is just a mutation. They are just as red other ones.
So now that you mentioned cross, do you need to cross pollinate the
Big Buks.
Flash Gala?
But like all galas, it's just normal gala. You have to have a cross pollinator, but I mean, remember that's got nothing to do with the fruit.
Yes.
No, nothing.
The fruit is
But
the
it-
mother material.
But technically, if you take that seed and you plant it, you're not going to get the same.
No, it's the same as your
No,
children
that
always
is-
looks different than what you do.
Yeah.
No, that
It's-
is.
That's what I think. You often see on YouTube and TikTok
Yeah.
and whatever that people say how to grow a whatever from seed.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but you're not going to get that same thing coming out of
No.
that seed.
No.
No, I've often said when Henk and I talk to ladies groups, I said, I've got an apple here, it's got about 8 or 9 seeds. If I plant it, will I get the same golden? And normally there's a 50% split. A 50%, yes, you'll get the same other one seed.
Yeah.
So I said, lady, do you have a sister? I said, yes, I have a sister. Does she look like you? No. You're both from seeds. Except the one day when I asked the same question, I said, hey, do you have a sister? She said, no, I don't have a sister. So,
Yeah.
But have you experimented with?
We don't breed. Yeah.
we
As
don't.
I think we don't.
But just in your back gardens, just for the fun of it.
It's to grow apples where we stay. You have to have cold enough, and it's not.
Okay.
But to breed is a very, remember, if you breed something, as soon as you breed, the seedling has got youth characteristics, which it has to grow out before it flowers. That can take 7 years before you see the first flower.
So it's
Now,
a
let's go
long-term-
through the thing. You cross-pollinated it. And then monks did a lot of that in the 1600s because they had a lot of time. You cross-pollinated.
yeah.
Now you, okay.
It's only pollination that happened.
The winter you get the fruit and you put them away in a cold store and you satisfy its cold requirement, then you plant it. Okay, then add 7 years to that. Then you see your first fruit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why they do so many. They bring thousands of these things just to see. But they now do it with, they do intelligent breeding, where they do it with marker assisted. They know which markers they're looking, genes they are marked, and
they
then they
know.
go
That's
for that. So it's,
very
Yeah.
but I mean, traditional breeding is just too slow. I mean, if Buck started at 60 with breeding, but yeah, he does a lot of other things slow, like his, what's that vinegar that,
Balsamic.
balsamic. Yeah, I
You're
mean,
making balsamic vinegar.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Of course.
It's pretty cool. And it also takes years.
Yeah, that takes time. But
when did you start? I mean, that for me was the best. When Buck started, how old were you when you started with your balsamic?
No, I started most probably 20 years ago.
No, it was later. I thought you were about close to 70 when you started with balsamic. And you said to me it will take 18 years or 21 years.
Well, I've got balsamic now that's about 12, 13 years old. And you know the balsamic, it's not for the recording, but the balsamic that you buy in the supermarket, I won't even put on my fish and chips.
No.
Yes,
It's
if you want
mass-produced.
if you want to get it certified in Modena, you've got to go through the whole process,
you
and
have
it's got
to
to
go
be
to
20
Modena.
years.
Okay, but this is interesting now. So I don't know how you make balsamic vinegar. I know that they age it in vats outside, but I've seen some of that on TV.
You know, shall I switch over to Italian so that you don't understand? No, I went to see a chap in Modena to see how he does it, in small. What you do is you do what we call what they
You have
call
Bataria.
what they call mosto cotto. That's cooked must. That is mosconfait. You take normal vinegar, you take normal must, and you boil it from say 50 liters to about 18. But in other words, it comes less than half.
So you make jam? Like,
You really make a jam.
so a kilogram of grapes, kilogram of sugar. That's how my dad still
Yeah.
made it.
Anyway, then you take that, and so I asked the old chap, you know, how do you get to your balsamic now? You've got that. He said, then you take an old, very old, real old vinegar, 20, 25 years old, and you mix it. And I said, you know, what's the,
And then, yes,
and he said, 50-50, 50-50. So I've done 50-50 and it works. It works well, but sometimes I adjust it a bit. And that's the beginning of the thing. Then you put it in your vat. As you
Where
say.
do you get 20-year-old vinegar?
I have 20-year-old. I've got all the bum wine that I didn't drink goes into the vinegar vat.
Okay.
And then you work on what you said. Balsamic is never done in a cellar. It's always done on the loft, and besolder. And
Does it need temperature or?
no, just normal. Just normal. And then it works by evaporation.
so you take that much, and then over the years,
It-
as
it-
the
it
years,
becomes-
You
end
take
up-
that much, you reduce it to 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
And
you
then
make
go-
it a little bit more, and then it reduces by itself.
And you always
Over
do
the
it
years.
with the Solera system. In other
Yeah.
words, your
take a
new mix is at the top.
Yes.
And then every year I go and I siphon it down to my 8 liter that you can.
Yeah.
But it takes many, many years.
I like watching these moonshiners with the guy.
yeah,
make interesting things.
Yeah. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with apples. But
Yeah, but it's interesting. So there was the one where they put a vat of whiskey, which is spirits at that
Yeah.
stage, put it on a guy that does fishing on his boat. The guy kept it on his boat for 6 months, and they aged it to a 10-year plus equivalent in 6 months' time, just by the changing of temperatures
Oh, I see.
and the movement of the boat and whatever.
yeah.
So they said, well, how can we recreate this in mass? Because we can't load up a boat with all.
Yeah.
So there's apparently in the Appellation where these guys are, there's an old theme park that was right at the top of a hill. But there's a massive temperature difference between the bottom and the top.
Yeah.
And there's old swings and stuff which are standing there. So they broke into this place with the vats and they loaded up all the swings with the vats. And they went back like 6 months later to fetch it. Nobody ever goes there. And it's just,
Yeah.
wow.
No, so
The interesting plans people make.
It's fun. Henk, maybe you can say what sort of standard we use for something to qualify as flash gala.
Oh, yeah, okay. But all the rules are the same as Pink Lady. So it has to meet certain criteria before it can make.
Before it can get
because you have
the
you have to supply what you promise.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's basically it. So it's a
So there's a standard. So all the fruit of a particular tree has to meet a standard.
that meets the standard.
And
or
that which
can
meets
be-
the standard can have the trademark, and that which is below standard.
Yeah,
It
that's
does
sold as
not
big
meet the
bags.
trade.
It's sold as big bags.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
gala or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And there was another. You mentioned something about Fuji.
Fuji Royal. Yeah. It's
Fuji Royal, the same thing. We stumbled across red Fuji. And what was interesting about it is that I found it here in Elgin, full red Fuji in a normal orchard. And at the same time, Robert Zilch in series,
Yes,
he found also a mutation.
I remember reading about that.
And it looked exactly the same. So we both applied for plant breeders' rights. And the plant breeders' rights man said, I can't find a difference between these
It's the same
two,
thing.
but I can find a difference between the others.
Okay.
He said I can only give plant breeders' rights for one.
Okay.
So we had to decide on a name. So there was only one, and he decided on Fuji Royal, and that is owned by True Cape and by Robert Zilch.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I was quite gracious and
that's fine.
and let them have it all.
Yeah, but I mean, this Buks always says we find, but all it was Buks finds. He's walking and he finds the things and he sees. So I mean, it's a skill that you have to have. You have to see detail.
It must be a very specific skill.
Yeah, you must be able to look in a tree and say, oh, there's something different.
And the point is, so often people are so focused on production,
They don't see it.
they are there to see just the production.
Yes.
But they're not looking like you are with a different eye.
So what's it? What is there a lot of opportunity for other possible
Yeah, for
mutations?
sure. There's always mutations.
Now, obviously, you can't get to every orchard,
Yeah, and you sometimes see it in the bin.
Okay.
But that's.
but you don't know what to
where it comes
You know what block it was. You can find the block.
you and
But it's empty
and then
at that
the
stage.
pruners come and they cut it off in winter. You
Yeah.
never see it again.
Or they
so-
say, oh, the pickers, they remember this tree, they marked it, and that's where it came from. You go to the tree and there's no mark on it.
Yeah, well, somebody
So
came
you
and took it off.
like they say, you had to be there
Yeah.
at that place at that time.
Yeah.
Right. So something I'm very keen to hear about is your trip to Kazakhstan.
Buks sister.
Look, I only went there for the experience,
Yeah.
and Henk can help me. But
Because again, we just read it.
yeah,
in
but
articles.
it's better to read it than for me to tell you about it. But I went. I looked for pals to go with. Okay, what is so fancy about Kazakhstan? Kazakhstan is supposed to be the home of the modern apple.
Okay.
In other words, 315 million years old or something
Okay.
like that. And so, I thought, and what happened in Kazakhstan is there were these apple orchards, massive orchards, on the plains and especially also in the mountains.
Forest or
Forests.
yes.
Yeah.
And during the Soviet time, they more or less cleaned all the easy bits, which is on the plains. And so at the moment, you see the odd apple tree still on the plains, but they mainly confined to the forest. And the two places that we went to, and I had a pal, Frederik Vogt. He was lured into to come with me.
Lured into coming with you.
So we went to that. You have these the mountain range between Kazakhstan and China, and Kazakhstan and Russia. Now we went to the Chinese one, Tian Shan Mountains, and the apples grow in like the Knysna forest. It's exactly like that. There's a little track. And by the way, we were the only two people that we saw, apart from a man and his wife that helped us guide. And you go into these orchards and into these forests, and there's a little track. If you go a little bit this way, a little bit well, you're lost.
Is it big trees, small trees?
Just big trees, small trees. You know, like in Knysna forest, you get a huge big yellow wood, and then you get lots of little other gemors there. Same with them. There's lots of they eventually become like creepers, and you get small apples, huge big apples, tart apples, sweet, sour, big, small, red, yellow.
So how many of them did you just pick and taste?
Well, quite a few. We were there in September, and so they weren't all, ready to eat and so on. But anyway,
But you don't know. You don't know if the color is right.
No, you haven't got a clue.
It must have not been too good on the stomach. I know if.
No, it is rather. There were the odd wild apricot that we saw, and and so on, but mainly apples. One thing that I wanted to say about those
big apples, small apples.
Yeah, and Henk, and why do they call it the home of the modern apple? Those forests are 350 million years old. And so what they did now, Henk, they did
gene sequencing.
DNA sequencing.
So it's
Okay.
And they took some of these apples, and they did what fancy word that Henk just mentioned, and they found that it was exactly the same as the Granny Smith or the Golden Delicious that you buy in Pick n Pay.
Wow.
Yeah,
there's no difference. It's because we always believed that humans bred the apples. But as it traveled. But the only thing that humans did is disperse the apples.
But
And obviously, it's a lot of these cross-pollination and the seed coming up.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like a Proteus. It's a similar thing. So we just dispersed it. Because a lot of the fruit and vegetables that you eat, humans had a big part to play in it.
Yes.
In apples, not.
What's the story about the carrots you told me?
Carrots were originally not orange.
Yes.
Carrots were made orange because of the House of Orange in Holland.
Yeah.
So, and then today, carrots are orange. No one ever asks that question. But I also want to ask you about the vein apples. the
Sorry,
story.
can I?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Did you have more
can
to
I
say?
just say something about
Of course.
the something about the apples? Yes, we were talking about seedlings.
Yeah.
You know that they not. If you take the big varieties of apples in the world, which is Golden Delicious, Granny Smith, Red Delicious, and there might be another one. They were all seedlings. They weren't bred. They were all
Found.
They were found.
They were
They
found.
were found.
Yeah.
Like Granny Smith in near, but it's now Sydney, found an apple tree behind her house. In
Somebody
and-
threw pips away.
they threw the pips away,
And it
and
grew.
that became Granny Smith. And so we can talk about the golden as well in the States, and the reds in red varieties. There might be another one, but those three are three.
Most of them are. I mean,
Yeah,
So
they-
most
A famous plant like that from South Africa is the carcamus peach or apricot.
Yeah.
Carp peach.
Peach.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah.
That's one like
Yeah.
that.
and if you go to 1925, about a quarter of all apples planted was from a seedling, and it was Wemmershoek.
Okay.
Wemmershoek was the
In South Africa.
In
Yeah.
South Africa
In
was
South
the
Africa.
main planting, and we got a tree there.
The
And,
Wemmershoek tree.
the Wemmershoek tree.
What does the apple look like?
Terrible.
Small. Small and red.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
It-
it's got
it
a,
was-
it's got a bloom. It's very funny.
Very
It's got a
funny.
bloom.
It's got a
Interesting.
bloom
like a plum.
and-
Is it?
like a plum, yeah. And it was found
Strange.
where Wemmershoek Dam is now.
Okay.
That used to be farms,
Okay.
and a chap called Johannes Houman, he found it, and
Was a farm.
he found it in his.
Interesting that so many of these things, the really successful ones, nature made them.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're also very big ones that nature didn't make.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember.
yeah.
And now
Yeah.
it's big business to breed apples. So,
For sure.
breeding is now becoming
And now
huge.
breeding is.
There are too many. There's just too many apples now. I mean, if you go into a shop or one of these supermarkets in March, April, I've counted the other day. There are like 18 different types of apples on the shelf.
Sure.
It's just mine. It's just too
Yeah.
much.
And very often the consumer really doesn't know
Doesn't
the
know,
difference.
doesn't know.
Not
I mean, and
really.
it's they're all different. But I mean, most of the consumers they know red, yellow, and green.
Yeah.
And that's it. And pink now. But so it's become. I mean, and they why do we carry on? Because they all taste different. That's the thing. And people don't know anymore. They just want a red apple or a green apple. And
But you know, I must say, it is interesting when I don't need to tell you, you guys will know this even better than I do. If you think about what we were eating, like you talked about the Wemmershoek apple, what we and the people before us were eating and what's available now. The flavor and the quality improvement on fruit. So the R&D that goes into it, yes, it's expensive and it takes a long time and all the rest, but what gets produced is
it's
phenomenal.
amazing. And for me, if you look at what blueberries have done, what grapes have done,
Yeah.
I mean, what you now get on the shelf for grapes.
Think about a Clement Gold.
I mean,
I think
it's
compared
yeah.
to old Narkies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know, that kind of where you've improved stuff to the point where what you are eating today, your grandparents didn't have access to that.
No.
No, but you know, if you don't have something to compare with, you eat what you eat.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's
What you have.
like if
but-
you come from the Gauteng province, the apple's got to be mealy. Otherwise, it's not nice.
And the
You've got to
older,
drink sweet
also,
wine.
no, also the old age herbs. You know, you need a soft apple.
Soft apple.
But tell us about the vein apples. I want to know the whole story about that you went to go and fetch them.
Okay, but before that,
plant
just
material.
now we're talking about all these different cultivars. All these blue apples and black ones and white ones we see on
Are those real?
The black apples. The black apple. No, you see a lot of black apples. Remember, it's apples. Apples are roses. They're family Rosaceae. Yeah.
Okay.
So all the colors that you get in roses, you can get in apples.
Okay.
So
interesting.
it's just pigmentation. So the blue and the black apple is just high pigmentation. black apples is just full of red color that is so much that it becomes it looks black.
Okay.
But it is not black. It is.
And those white ones where they cut it and the skin and its flesh is the same.
Oh yeah,
color?
that is red fleshed apples.
Yeah, red flesh. We mean red in the flesh.
Yes.
Okay.
And you cut it.
Yeah, the trees they look
might-
different. We've got some here. They use them in the breeding programs because we thought it would be scientific community in general thought that it would be something new. To have apples, if you cut it, then it's red inside.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice for salads, and it's something different. It adds excitement to
taste wise.
They struggle, but it's now
No, it's not too bad.
because
now.
most of your red flesh apples are not the greatest to eat because of the
It tastes a bit,
tannins in the red.
Okay.
tastes a bit like quince.
So it dries the
Creeper.
mouth.
Yes.
It dries the mouth
Yes.
quite a lot. But they've crossed and recrossed, and so it's much
So they've
better
improved
now.
on that now.
Yeah.
Oh, they
But it
have.
must be red inside, otherwise it's not right
Yeah.
anymore. It can't be half red anymore. It's got to be full red.
But
So pink or whatever.
no, eventually, the madame in Sea Point, I asked her, oh, what, Mrs. Rabinovich? Not for the, well,
The housewife that's shopping.
no.
Yes.
What do you like in an apple? She said, Miss Nel, I don't know what I like in an apple. But I can tell you what I do not like in an apple. I don't like a flowery apple.
Yeah.
And so when you there's a lot of breeding going on, especially in Minnesota and places like that, all over the place for eating quality. But still, when somebody walks into the supermarket, he looks, is it red or yellow?
Yes. You buy with your eyes and not with your taste buds because you can't taste it.
But I mean, they are very, very successful, extremely nice tasting apples coming out of breeding programs.
that's some nice.
But then you have to push it. You can't have an old apple that looks so, and you say, but remember, it eats well. And you have to have
Got to
somebody
look
there
good to start with.
yeah, you have to
But
have
there's been
somebody.
a biological variation, and an apple that you buy is not normally it's not necessarily an apple that you eat because you know what happens. You buy a bag of apples, you put it in the fridge, it stays there or in the bowl. You eat it 3 weeks later, then it's not nice anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's
You must eat it immediately. Okay.
You wanted to ask something.
Now you weren't asking about the vine apples.
I've asked twice now. I'm going to ask again about the vine apples.
Henk, carry on about the vine apple.
yeah. I mean, the vine apple we found we were doing.
It's a fascinating story. I just
Why
wanted to
why we were looking for where the first apples. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a long story. We wanted to see why people are doing improved varieties. Let's see where we came from.
Yeah, let's go back to the start.
Yes, where did we start? Why don't we see those varieties anymore? So and that's where we ended up in the archives at Rolandstraat.
Fascinating.
How boring.
No, actually before that, no, it's much easier. It was much easier. All the dagboeken
Yeah.
is online.
Okay.
So we searched online, found the dagboeken and started.
We're talking about van Rubik's dag.
Yeah, that can find a bit
all of them. Then we just look at keyword apples,
Yeah.
and so
That's actually brilliant because, like, what happened 2 years ago, the parliament got burnt down.
Yeah.
If that
Yeah.
stuff gets burned down, it's gone.
Exactly.
no, it's so everything is and it's available in English, Dutch, and Afrikaans.
This is a copy of the actual.
Yeah.
That's Jan's, and there you can see
I'm very pleased someone translated this.
Yeah, and
Because I
because the
can't even-
writing you
on
can't.
the 17th of April, 1662, 10 years after they landed here. This is the diary. This is what he wrote in his diary.
Yeah.
And there you can say he picked the first
Apples.
and it was genaamd the wijnappel.
Oh, okay.
That's where we got the wijnappel name from.
I see it.
Okay, but that's now to get from there to a tree is a mess. That's where the search started.
Yeah.
because now we had a name, vine apple, because it's described as a name. So we know it wasn't a seedling. Otherwise, it wouldn't have a name, because in that time things had names.
Yeah.
So
So he must have brought a plant with him.
yes,
exactly
the
what it
trees were planted. Were probably brought in barrels.
In barrels.
Yeah, they brought seeds, but they were expert gardeners. Remember, they came here
Yeah,
to feed the return fluid,
Yeah.
Correct.
to give them fresh fruit and vegetables. So they had a job to do, and they brought I think the most skilled in their trade. They brought to South Africa, which is not Jan Riebeck, but his gardeners and things. And Jan Riebeck is whoever and his people that came after him had to keep records. That's why it's available. They really had to keep very. On every day, you know what weather it was, and
Yeah, it says it was mystic with a northwester.
so
Exactly the same. You're taking a plant. You're thinking about climate change. This was in 17th of April, 1662,
That could be interesting stuff.
and the
people are doing that now.
and the northwester was blowing the same that the day when I looked at this book.
Anyway, so
that's
Same nonsense, different
same
day.
night, yeah.
So
Different century.
we started looking for a vein. We tried to find a vein apple. Now, where do you start? Luckily, there are books written, old books, and we found again online.
So thank goodness
To
someone's
buy,
put them online.
and we bought a book that was written in 1650, 16 something, Pomologia.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Um,
It's
and we got the CD. And in that time, we also corresponded with the VOC because they still had an
Yeah,
office,
yeah.
which is for me amazing. I
Isn't
sent
it phenomenal? They still have an office.
yes, there's
Yeah,
somebody
I-
looking after their
My word.
Can't be a too exciting job with too much work stress.
No.
But I mean, it's for me, it was absolutely that you actually write an email to VOC.
Yes.
In 2000, you get an answer.
Wow.
So anyway, that was part of it. And so we got the book, and then we started looking through it, and we just found they referred to a vine apple. They had two: the rode vine apple and the bitter vine apple. Now Jan Riebeck only said vine apple, so we don't know which one it is.
Yeah, we don't know which one.
But what we know it's the date depicted. It's the 18th of March.
And it's 16 April.
16 April. 16 April, so it's a late apple.
So it's basically exactly 10 years after you arrived.
Yeah,
The-
10 years
the-
after
the
you arrived.
award-
Like to the day.
The award that you guys were presented with is called the 1664 award.
No, 1662. No,
1662.
1662. It's
Okay.
a
Stel
1662.
foto then.
Yeah, no, I know it's a 1660 because, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so,
Yeah, Kleister.
Okay,
Please
well,
carry on.
yeah, so we found
the red and the white.
Now we've got
I apologize, you are right.
yeah, we've got the name vine apple. Now we started looking for it. Luckily, we're on the new variety circuit, which Buks is very active there. We found what was his name again?
Bas van Andel.
No, but the guy who made contact with Bas van Andel. He was what variety did he come? Anyway,
he
he was
was
one of the European
But
varieties.
it must have
that
been
they-
fascinating dealing with the Dutch people, and that they must have been amazed that you were looking for this old stuff.
Yeah, eventually the country,
Countryman.
yeah, they found because in the war, most of the trees were level. It was in that area, which is the old Dutch area, the old between the polders. So it was mostly leveled, and they only found one tree left, and that tree has been kept alive. And they sent us the plant material,
Yeah.
and it came through quarantine. And another wait 5 years because we had to wait for it to go through
Yeah.
from finding it to getting it here and then planting it, and that was special because it
Yeah.
What are the apples like?
the apples are typically like old apples, flowery and not very.
Small.
No,
It's sort of.
it's not the greatest.
It's
He's
not
got
the
a Buks sent me a photo.
300-year-old apples. I mean, you're not going to be. It's going to be
Not
much.
the best.
Yeah, I've just taken a picture last year of a few of the apples, but There, it's all fallen on the.
This is where they
Somewhere next.
Okay.
okay, and it's just an apple. It's just but it was important enough for them to name it. So
Yeah.
you must think what
Yeah.
the others were looking like.
But if
This
but,
is what it looks like.
Okay. It's an apple.
but often the older people name something because it's something that they saw or they did with something.
But interesting.
Did they make cider or something with that?
Most
We
probably
don't know.
No.
We don't know.
So, well, when we found this, but this one, what we know now, it's not the one because this one is picked much earlier.
yeah.
Oh.
It's not that because it doesn't ripen the 18th of April,
Yeah. It
16th of April.
Right,
It
it
ripens
ripens
much earlier. So we know it is either you had the red one or the white one, but this is the other one. Whenever there are two,
And where did they plant the first one? Where was the first one planted?
In the company gardens.
yeah, and in Oak Valley.
No, here in the company gardens originally.
Oh, yeah, the first-
That's where
300
we
years ago.
planted.
Yeah, yeah.
And they.
That's what he says here. He said, I picked the first apples in the company
Yeah,
gardens.
in the company garden.
But there's still a tree from that time.
Yeah. We plant. No,
No,
the pear tree
no,
is
no.
still there.
Pear tree.
The pear tree is still
No, the
there.
pear tree.
But it's looking really old. I was there the other day.
Yeah, we went.
For sure.
it
300 years is a long
Yeah,
time.
but it is. If you talk to the old people from the Boerkaap, they still harvested pears from there.
Yeah, they do.
Can you take a slip from that and plant it?
Yeah.
Yes, which
yeah.
we
I mean,
did.
Yeah, we have one. Yeah, so it is.
Wow.
And there's one at Infratech as well. That's where we also got one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's
And what's those pears like?
the saffron.
Not too bad.
I haven't actually had one because the moth get them before we get there.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, they're also early. They're very early.
Yeah, when we started talking, when you were doing all the research, my father grew up in a Kamanasi.
Ooh,
Yeah,
what's your fun?
Kirsten.
Kirsten.
Want ek ken van die Kamanasi mense.
Yeah, it's kind of
So when we went back there in 2018, just for December holiday for a couple of days, opposite of the house we stayed, there was big old pear trees. I think I still sent you the photos. And my dad said they used to call them suikerpeertjies.
Oh,
sugar
yes.
pears.
Yeah.
But they are just left to their own. They're
Yeah.
growing there, and there's also an old apple tree standing there. But that is now sprouted
Yeah.
small ones below it.
yeah.
Yeah, what we found, because an apple doesn't last as long as a pear. A pear tree can grow really old.
Okay.
So what Buks is in the last book that he wrote is the story, and the story about the old pear trees,
Yeah,
is
where we-
actually a story about people. Because wherever people went, they planted pear trees because it was for something to eat and to conserve in the bad times. So if you see an old pear tree, you must know a person planted that. And it's got a name, that person's got a name, and it's got an identity, and he had a reason to plant that specific tree and not another one. So that is the interesting thing about old pears.
Yeah,
They are human related.
Yeah, that's why we did that book where we went round and talked to the old pear trees. Now, people say after a while you start to talk to the trees. But
Don't worry.
But-
King Charles also does that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, for example, the book is very well illustrated and so on, but I went to the old pear tree in Dorp Street, behind La Gratitude Manor House.
Okay.
And I started to talk to him. And I said, pear tree, what have you seen over the last 150 years? He said, you should know, Dorp Street was the main road from Stellenbosch to Cape Town. I said, oh, wow. I said, and what else did you see? I said, this house here, La Gratitude. Who lived here? I said, well, you should know it. It was the Winshaws that started Stellenbosch Farmers Winery. I said, oh. He said, I said to him, Oh, they started Stellenbosch Farmers Winery, so you must have seen all these wines that they did since the 30s. So which one did you like best about poetry? He said Tassies.
And thousands of Stellenbosch students can agree.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think anymore.
You know,
There was an era, there was a time.
But there's very nice, in that book, there's very nice stories about how
I'd love to read it.
how the people were told it was a rule in Beaufort West. You're not allowed to plant, you're only allowed to plant pear trees next to the street, for example. Well, where I grew up, on the little farm in the Little Karoo, very near where you grew up, there's an old pear tree there, it still stands there. There's a picture of it in the book. And that pear tree, it had a significance in that there was also a little vineyard there. And then the people from Calitzdorp, they came for their vidblits because the chap Stuart there did some distilling. And this pear tree, they hoisted a white flag when the blitz was ready.
Oh, okay.
And then they came across, you'll see a picture of it, of a drawing of it. They came across, they collected their stuff, and they go back. And so the story is, how do you arrest 150-year-old pear tree? Because the people are dead, so they
Yes.
but the pear tree is still
There's
there.
no one to pay for the crime except
Yeah,
the tree.
yeah, the pear tree is in. How do you arrest the pear tree? And there's a nice little drawing of the pear tree with handcuffs.
But it's more interesting. We were stopping there the other day, and
Yeah.
now it's Buks's farm, and there's now Pear that comes along the road.
Yeah.
Nobody sees him except if you've got the right eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a ghost car.
Yes, and then it makes a turn at the house, and then you hear the horses.
But you see nobody. This is what I tapped.
You experienced it.
No.
No.
It's
No.
the guy who looks after the farm.
Yeah, and he said his grandson was, and the grandson said, but there walks, that's Opa there. There he walks. Nobody could see him. He said, yeah, there Opa walks.
Goodness gracious.
So I'm.
But that happens in the Klein Karoo.
Yeah.
You should know. You should know.
in Calabar.
But so, if you've got to say from all the stories that you went around, which was the most interesting one to you?
Oh,
People that you
Of the pear
with the
tree
pears.
Of the pear trees, that one is I think which one is, we really enjoyed those. I'm just thinking now. Of course, the Beaufort West one, where you had to have special permission to plant something else, or if a pear tree died, you had to plant it. There's still some pear trees in,
Good heavens.
In Beaufort West, in the streets.
in the streets, but there used to be a furrow, you know.
Yeah.
But because there's no pipes and stuff.
My mother grew up in Beaufort.
Oh, she did.
My skoonpa as well. My father-in-law. I'll ask him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, you.
It's going to change his name, I hear now.
Really?
I think so. I read it.
Oh my word.
They're
That
going
is
to change
just
Beaufort West's name.
Yeah, I think I read
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Ek gaan gou daai boek haal.
Het jy nog-
Okay.
Ek dink daar lê in die bakkie. Have you got
Shut
a
up. Hold on. You've got a mic on, so let's just wrap up.
Well,
Yeah.
quick.
Finish up. We'll finish up, and then we can gesels afterwards, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a closing ceremony. That's just to connect this podcast with other ones. It just actually connects everybody up. And that's a question that somebody else has asked, they've posed randomly for, they don't know who's going to answer it. So your question from somebody else.
Okay.
You're missing it.
No, we've got them here.
Got it. Okay, so you guys have seen a lot and you've been to a lot of places and you've heard interesting stories. What still gets you up in the morning?
Buks?
It's very difficult for me to get up in the morning.
That's why we appreciate your time.
But I start to wake up after lunch.
Okay.
But I think what I've experienced is most probably not the fruit trees, but more the people surrounding the trees, and that I find interesting. I find interesting the people maybe more so than the apple or pear, because those are characters, and you can talk to them, and they can talk to you. So you ask me if I get up in the morning and somebody says to me, "You're going to have to look at old apple trees again," then it'll be boring. But he said, "You know, we're going to see old Dewald on the farm," then I'm quite interested to get up.
Wonderful.
Oh, no, it's also always finding something new, something we didn't know about. I mean, that's the good thing about the agriculture and science. There's always something new. It's every day is something different. It's not the same because we work with a seasonal crop with the climate effects. So you never know. It can be a quiet day in the morning, in the afternoon, all hell breaks loose. You didn't know that it's gonna. Oh, it can start bad. You never know. Like a season can start bad, and then it just turns to good.
Wow. And the younger generation, the youngsters that's coming stepping up into the father's shoes.
I have had. I normally get young girls and boys that finish university and come and work at my small department. I've had 40, and I think there's huge potential, but there's also something missing. I don't know what, but I mean, it is. I just feel that something is missing. Perhaps the passion to go all out. That might be it. But I mean, I've had wonderful people. Yeah, and it was always interesting to have somebody new because I always had a new person every year, sometimes more than one in a year, and they bring their youthful energy.
Yeah, certainly.
And I was always looking for what else do they bring? Because everyone has a story and has a special talent, and you have to figure out what is that. I had Dutch girls coming over as exchange students, and we made videos on how to train, the packers on the shop floor. Then I found out, but they are exceptional video editors. I didn't know about. So that to me is always exciting.
That's the hidden talents.
All the hidden talents
and passions that they don't initially display.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And if you use that and you couple it to the job, I mean, it works so well. I mean, the trick is to find that. Because they don't talk about it. They don't say, "Oh, I'm a video editor." Yeah, they don't. I mean,
Incredible.
yeah, that's been a privilege for me to have so many people. Like 40. I mean, 40. It's bigger than 2 rugby teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
He also lectured at Stellenbosch, so he a lot of the young people went through his hands.
Just a couple of years. I was just 4 years there, so But I think it is So they come, and the reason the question that they're going to ask, why do they leave? I ask myself that as well. They get exposed to opportunities, and in agriculture, and specifically where I am in fruit culture, there's huge amounts of opportunities, and they don't know about it. So they come out of whatever, and then they see, sure, I want to do this, and then they go and become successful in whatever they want to do, and that to me is so they don't go and sit at home. They come and improve
So
themselves.
by working with you and in your department, you actually expose them to all the
Yes,
opportunities.
yes.
And it's pretty amazing because you're empowering them to go on.
Yes, that's well. And I'm now getting a bit fed up because you have to train them. So you train them up to a certain standard,
Yeah.
and then they leave, and then
And then
you
you've got to
think
start from scratch
you
again.
start. It was okay, but after 20 years, I think I've done enough.
Yeah.
Buks and Henk, thank you so much for your time. This has been incredible. Very interesting. Learned a lot of things.
Yes.
Very inspiring. And don't stop with your adventures. Keep it up. And keep it up with the balsamic vinegar. And yeah, it's an inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big Buks vinegar.
Big Buks vinegar, yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to chat to you. And you know, sometimes we sit and we don't know what to say, but when you ask questions, it's nice to chat about these things. You know,
Thank you.
Yeah.